Now we're on part 13, and again we're attacking sleep here. And the types of sleep are going to be described here in two general categories as non-rapid eye movement, which is most of sleep, and a lot of the restorative activities of sleep. And then there's going to be REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, which is actually dream sleep. Dream sleep is, in the words of Matthew Walker, cheap psychotherapy, partly because you've removed a lot of the biochemicals that would inhibit what would normally happen during psychotherapy and cause you not to go more deeply into psychotherapy. In fact, you are not prevented from going deeply into your dreams, and you actually do have quite a beneficial outcome of dreaming. Okay, so some psychologists make use of this by asking people to remember their dreams and going over them during the waking state. Okay, moving right along, we have these 90-minute sleep cycles, and they're sort of depicted here. Do you see how they work? We start from wakefulness, we drop into REM sleep, and then we drop down 1, 2, 3, 4. And the most vivid sleepers, usually people who are young, get to have vivid sleep, deep sleep, where there's this type of activity going on at the stage 4. This is, remember, this is the type of sleep that includes stage 4 types of sleep that have these very slow waves. Okay, so don't underestimate the slow wave sleep. There's also spindles on the way down. So on the way down, we have some of these really interesting little spindle bursts that happen, but they're also highly associated. The deepest of sleep and the most restorative sleep is highly associated with this delta wave, and less so the theta wave. So some sleep enthusiasts, scientists, actually just break it down into there's these two and then there's these two. And I'm of the school, along with Matthew Walker, that wants to see all these details. I want to see stage 1, 2, 3, and 4. Some people just want to see not deep sleep and deep sleep, and I want to see it all. So so that's why I'm teaching it here. Is we have the stage 1, 2, 3, 4. We have the deepest delta wave sleep up front, and we have usually a couple of cycles of that if we're particularly young. If we're my age, a lot of times it's hard to get into deep sleep, and it's only if you've had a really vivid day with some exercise that you get to enjoy it. So I recommend start your daily exercise practices now, because deep sleep is a really cool thing. Okay, and then notice that as we go further and further along, that REM sleep, dream sleep, becomes more, primary in the cycles, to the point where it becomes quite a lengthy event. And then finally, after 7.5 or 8 hours, or sometimes 9 hours of sleep, anywhere from 7 to 9 is the amount of sleep that we're supposed to be getting. If you're a little kid, you want to be getting a lot more. And in fact, if you're an infant, 20 hours a day is okie dokie, 18 or 20 hours, right up there with cats. But if you're just a little kid, early in school and stuff like that, 9 or 10 hours is the preferential amount. My mom actually put me in the bed at 7:30 at night, and especially in the summer, it was still light out, and I used to listen to faraway trains and things like that, and wonder about the world as I was falling asleep. But it worked out really well for me, so I cannot complain. Okay, so those are the aspects of sleep, and they get into this circadian rhythm, the 24-hour rhythm. And we do have a handout that I'm going to distribute to you so you can utilize it. What there is that there is, in fact, a chemical called adenosine that builds up from the moment you awaken at maybe 7 or 8 in the morning to the time when you go to bed at whatever it is, 10 or 11 o'clock at night. Adenosine is building, and so it becomes a force. And then also it's causing drowsiness, and the circadian rhythm also has light associated with it, and as darkness approaches, melatonin is released. And so the combination of melatonin and high levels of adenosine. How do you spell adenosine? Adenosine. So rising levels of adenosine throughout the day cause drowsiness. So we get drowsy. And we do have a molecule which prevents that from happening. It's called caffeine. And we get it by various means, or there's other molecules out there that are found in chocolate, for instance. So whether it's tea, coffee, or chocolate, you can defeat the system and clear the adenosine. Adenosine is supposed to be cleared at night while you sleep. Okay, they get into the importance of sleep, and I will defer that to the real scientist who is advanced in this topic, Matthew Walker. And I will submit to you that we have growth factors. Now, the fact that the liver's growth factors are going to be dispersed locally in the tissues of the body, it means that a male who has facial hair could potentially have 5 o'clock shadow. Now, you ask yourself, well, wait a second. He got up at 7 o'clock in the morning, and there he is with 5 o'clock shadow. How'd that happen if growth factor only works at night? And the answer to that is that growth hormone is the big chef and stimulates the liver, which makes about 300 different growth factors that are specific for local tissues and that reside in local tissues and disperse during the second 4 hours of sleep. And then they're active locally. So that means locally in a gentleman's face, he is actually growing hair by day, even though the molecule, the growth factor, was produced at night that does that sort of thing. Okay? So I need you to understand that. And that they talk here about the infant that's sleeping 16 hours, and I would submit to you that it could be longer than that. The average for the adult is 8.5, and I would submit to you that we're not ready for that. Even in teenage years, I would say a young to middle teenager would be okay sleeping 9 hours. So people who sleep as little as 4 hours actually have a reduction in their T cells that fight cancer by 70%. So you can get a 70% reduction in your immune system, your vital immune system that goes out after things like cancerous cells and so on. So I warn you that sleep is possibly more than you've given it credit for. Okay, so there's the attempt to treat insomnia with all kinds of drugs, and there are no drugs at this time that is known. There is a technique that Matthew Walker will talk about, but it's not in the market yet, and he warns against you using it. Whatever, it turns out melatonin is merely a starting gun and doesn't actually cause entry into sleep. It's just merely a signal. There's another problem here called sleep apnea, in which people are mouth breathers, and they experience, how shall I say, difficulty in taking enough air to fully oxygenate their blood, and they need a little help with that. Okay, so there's that. The next detail here that we're going to be talking about is language, and we're going to be talking about Broca's and Wernicke's area, so that comes next.